We are on, we are ready. This is night 2. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the My Own Husband page. My name is Charmin Wilson and I am so excited. Can y'all tell? Like, I look well rested, right? Well, let's say that I know how to put myself together. No, but I've been so excited. It's like I couldn't sleep. I was, getting messages from last night all the time. Even now, people are still messaging me. When are you guys on? I can't wait. Can y'all just put that in the chat? I can't wait. I mean, I just love the fact that y'all can't wait because I can't wait also. So it's like we both can't wait, right? So welcome to, again, My Own Husband page, and today or tonight we are kicking off night 2 of Better Wives Weekend. If you guys are so excited, just hashtag that in the comments below. I have my phone here, I have other devices here, so I'm trying to follow everything, but I want to focus really on what we're doing and also help us to really connect even more on night 2, right? So let's just hashtag Better Wives Weekend 2020 or Better Wives Weekend or BWW 2020. You can put that in the comments as well. And even you can also put wives go live. So we have so many hashtags on the My Own Husband, but hey, it's what we do. It's the culture that we're building. It's the movement that we're spreading out there. People need to know that we exist and we are for real. So just help us to spread this message, Better Wives Weekend 2020. But before you share this, right, let me just say this. On your screen, on this live, just check, I think it's on your right side. There are 3 buttons there. Click on it and then look for the part that says copy link. Press that and copy the link, take the link, or it will copy the link of this live, and then go over on your timeline and paste it just as it is and share that. When you do it that way, it will attract people to this actual live and not create a watch party. Now, if you want to have your own party, that's fine. We're okay with that. But the thing is, some people are asking questions in the watch party and we are not getting the questions. Or they want to interact and participate and they think that we are seeing it, but we are not seeing it. They are seeing some of our comments, but we can't see theirs. So in order for us to eliminate all of that, let's just keep it all central and just copy the link and place it or paste it on your timeline, and then you win because your friends get to join you, and we win as well because everybody comes right here on this page, right? And that's what we want. So let them come, let them ask their questions on this page so that our speaker, even myself, we can see the questions and we can answer the questions, because I don't like the fact that some people think that maybe we overlook their questions and that kind of stuff. So we are one big family, happy community. Let's just keep it that way, keep it central to this page. But we are here and it's time to kick it off, and I can't wait for us to hear our speaker tonight. For some of you, you are returning from last night. I love that energy. Thank you for being here. But some of you, this is your first time and you don't know what's going on. You don't know who we are. And I just want to say that, as I said before, if you're just joining us, I am Charmaine Wilson, and I am the founder of the My Own Husband movement. We are on several platforms. This one, obviously, Facebook, Instagram. You can follow us at My Own Husband Movement. We are also on YouTube at My Own Husband, and you can also email us. But right in the comments section, my team has already put in all that information that you can follow, and you can have it. You can refer to that if you want to contact us, if you want to know more about what we're doing, if you want to even partner with us, support us. We are here to receive as well, not just to give. So we just want to thank you for also considering reaching out to us. If you want us to speak at your event, motivate wives, anything regarding marriage wise, that's what we do. We just love all that good stuff. So go right ahead and feel free to do so after this live. For now, we want you to focus on what we have to offer you tonight. Last night, though, if you were here last night, I want you to just send some hearts in the chat. Send some hearts in the chat. If you were blessed, if you were motivated, if you were inspired, if you were able to reflect and work on yourself and start to process certain things, even though it's just been last night. I don't know about you, but I've been thinking about a lot of things, and there's some friends as well that I know that I could share the information with to help them as well. But I spoke to Francesca today, after I knew that she got her rest, and I got my rest as well, and I was like, wow. So I can't wait to have an after meeting with all the speakers, because we got to come back. This is not the end. It's only the beginning. And if you agree with that, and if you want to have more of this, just send some hearts. I need to see those hearts going up, and I also want to see the numbers going up. So please share this. As I said, go and copy the link and post it or paste it in your post on your wall, and that way people can come directly to the live and not that it will create a watch party. Okay, so last night, how many of you remember the topic last night? It was a very simple topic for you to remember. That's what I mean. So what did you remember about it? First of all, what was the topic for you? Just remind me of that topic. Let me see if you remember that topic, and also let me know the biggest takeaway points that you've had. I want to see see your feedback. I want to read your feedback, even though I may not catch all of it, but later on I'm going to go back and I'm going to check, because the thing is, when you have a speaker or a teacher in-house, they always want to evaluate to make sure that understanding has taken place, learning has taken place. They want to evaluate the effectiveness of the teaching, right? So when we ask you to tell us what you've remembered, your takeaway, it's really to see that you have to really assess and see how much you have retained, and actually if the message was pretty clear. So I see in the chat that people are saying self-image. That's right, that was the topic last night, and Francesca did an amazing job. And y'all know how we do it here on this community. We support our wives, we big them up, we honor them, because if we don't know how to honor each other, it's going to be very difficult for us to know how to honor the men in our lives. You have to honor your own kind. At least, we gotta be able to embrace who we are as women, our strengths, the things that we're good at. If you said something that really touched me, that impacted me, I need to let you know and say thank you, right? Just say thank you. So just go ahead and show some love to Francesca in the chat. She might be looking now, or maybe catch on later, I don't know, but just let her know how much you really appreciate what she did last night. So that's that. Before we bring on the other speaker, I just want to remind us that you can always catch the replay of these lives, but we always prefer if you join us in the active discussion. We always prefer that because we want to have you here so that you can ask your questions directly and you can get the answers also the same way. Okay, so I appreciate those of you that message me and like, okay, Shaman, I'll catch the replay, but we really prefer if you're here with us. So if you know a friend is not here as yet, please tag her in the comments below. You can also tag husbands as well. I had a few husbands message me today and they were like, very good job, thank you, it was good, even though it wasn't really for them, but they really enjoyed it as well. They enjoyed the information and had a lot to talk about with their wives. So good job to all of you that participated where that is concerned, right? So tonight we have a new speaker. How many of you are ready for Charity Cantave? Mistress Charity Cantave, a dear friend of mine. I can't wait to have her on. She is ready. She's excited. She's been waiting for this for a very long time, and we can't wait to let her have the floor tonight. Okay, so if you can't wait to hear our new speaker for tonight, just send some hearts again. I want to see the hearts. I want to see the likes. And yeah, just let me know how excited and ready you are. So tonight, Charity is going to be speaking on becoming a better friend, right? So becoming a better friend, people might be like, okay, why that topic? We are all friends with our spouses, yeah, that's a normal thing. But you'll be surprised that a lot of us don't quite understand what it means to be a friend to our husbands. We are friends to our friends, our external relationships and stuff. We have that down pat, most of us. But when it comes to, our husbands, it's more like, well, I love him, I respect him. But sometimes friendship requires a little something more deeper than, just loving each other, just being married to each other. Right? Sometimes you will not always feel loved, and you will not always feel like you want to extend love to your husband, but that does not change the fact that he is a friend to you, and it's okay to express those feelings, and it's also very much okay to forgive him. Put that in the chat. It is okay to forgive your own husbands. Yes, yes, yes. I see people go at extreme lengths to maintain friendships with girlfriends, to call them up and check up on them on a daily, make sure that they're fine, make sure that the relationship is intact. And even when things are a bit kind of iffy, we still go the extra mile to do dinner together, lunch together, go to a movie together just to make sure that we're good. But we also have to put that much effort as well into our marriages, into our marriage with our spouse as well, because he's not just my husband, he's my friend. And he has feelings. And everything I say won't always be the right thing, and everything I do may not always be the right thing. So I need to also consider that. But also, how many of us can admit that we have changed from the spark that we had in our eyes, the excitement that we got when we saw our husband when we were dating, to how we are now? It's like we've become so familiar with each other, and I have grown to understand and learn that familiarity can become a serious destructive factor in marriage. So we got to be careful when we see those signs, when we become too accustomed with each other, when we take each other for granted, we take the things that we do for granted, the things that he says for granted, the effort that he makes for granted. I'm not going to go into Charity's lesson or teaching tonight, but I just had this on my heart to share as a pre-encouragement to us, that these things that we take for granted are sometimes the things, the simple things, these little things that really matter in a marriage, and that can either build or destroy. So in that same vein, if you are ready, it is time for us to bring on our speaker, Charity Cantave, and just share this, as I said, but also invite your friends in the comments. You can tag them if that's easier, and let them know that we are about to start with our speaker right now. And I don't want them to miss one moment of that. So, Charity, are you there and are you ready?
Sure am. Hi.
Hey, I see you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening.
Yes. Okay. So, Charity, listen, today I was thinking, I was like, oh my God, Charity, when I think of you and I think of your whole life and your marriage and everything, I was like, you fit perfectly for this topic, right? How did you feel when I reached out to you and I said, hey, Charity, we have this coming up and I want you to speak on this topic? How did you feel about that? Because I know how I felt about asking you.
In all honesty, I was a bit nervous. I was like, me? And for me, it was more so because of the length of our marriage. We're going on 2 years of marriage, and I didn't think that I had so much to offer, to much more seasoned wives.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was a bit nervous at first because of that reason.
Okay, but I want to tell you that I didn't think that you should feel nervous about anything, because you are loaded with wisdom and experience where this is concerned, and I couldn't think of anyone better than to have you come on and share from your experience. Like my husband and I consider us to be great friends, but the level of friendship that I see between you and your husband Ralph, considering your condition, which you will go into a little later. I was like, no, she's the one. She if she can do it, then we have no excuse. Absolutely not. So I want to just release you to go ahead and just start, because we don't want to delay this, and we have the wives that are on and pumped and ready. So go ahead and do your thing.
All right, thank you. And I'm totally excited to be here tonight to share about friendship, better friend in marriage. So, like I mentioned, when Charmaine reached out to me about sharing about friendship in marriage, I at first was a little nervous, but then I was like, what are some topics I'm going to tackle? Because friendship is something that is addressed, but never within the context of marriage. It's more so you and your girlfriends. And sometimes a relationship is a lot easier when talking about relating to the same sex in your platonic relationships. But when it comes to your husband, much times the focus is more so on him as a lover and as a romantic partner. So I'll give you a little backstory about my husband and I, how we started and where we're at. So my husband and I, we met a little over 3 years ago, through my own husband's well, what can I say? Founder, Charmaine. She is also a matchmaker. So she's a woman of many hats. She wears many hats. And she kind of coordinated something. He tried reaching out to me before we were friends, but I wasn't looking at a romantic relationship at the time. But with her wisdom, she coordinated things, and the friendship that we had developed into the marriage that we have today. So there are a lot of things that happened in the course of our relationship that, for many, they would have ended a relationship like ours. So within a month of our relationship, um, we had Hurricane Irma, which hit St. Martin, and a few things happened. We lost our jobs. My husband, who was a student, was required to either drop out of school because the school was threatened to close, um, or transfer to another university, which was already in his game plan as soon as he finished this level of his education. So for many at this point, you would decide, you know what, I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's best we just, take a break. And maybe after you finish your education, if we haven't found other interests, let's just part. So we decided, after seeking God and discussing this together, to continue to pursue this relationship. And it was quite an interesting experience because even after we got married, we maintained that relationship. And for many, they were like, I could never do a long distance relationship, much less a long distance marriage. And we did it for, like I said, almost 2 years. Our second anniversary is on August the 1st, and he's back home. Rona ain't that bad after all. So my husband came back about 2 months earlier than he was supposed to, with the course of events, and he's now back home. So somehow the dynamics have changed a little, now that he's back in St. Martin where we reside. So I want to share some of the principles that we have learned throughout the past years together, 3 years in a relationship and almost 2 years married. So I want to share some of those principles. But I also believe that if we're going to improve, if we're going to better our friendships with our husband, the solution is always found in the Word of God. And Charmaine actually dipped in some of my message already. And that's how I know this is a woman of God. She was in the vein. I mean, yeah, she's graced for this. And the scripture that I want to focus on this evening is taken from Proverbs. And it says, a wise woman builds her house on a foundation of godly precepts, and her household thrives. But the foolish one who lacks spiritual insight tears it down with her own hands by ignoring godly principles. And many times we read it in the King James Version, but I love the Amplified because it tends to beef it up. It tends to give you the meanings, the hidden meanings behind the scripture. And as we're learning what can build up a house and what can tear down a house, it's important for us to look at the contrast between what a friend is or does and what a friend is not or does not. So I have quite a list, and feel free to take some notes if you have any questions. Um, I'd like if you can just jot them down, and I'll be grateful to answer them at the end of the presentation. Um, and if anything sticks out to you, feel free to post it in the comments. That's also fine. Okay. So what a friend is not. It's important to define when you're determining what something is. Sometimes you have to identify what it's not. When you're identifying truth, you also have to identify a lie. So it's the same reason why we're looking at it on both from both perspectives. And what a friend is not is a friend does not dishonor in any exchanges or within daily, transactions. But what a friend does is show herself friendly. So you have to look what that looks like. What does it look like to dishonor in your daily exchanges? It's the kind of words that you speak. Do you speak words of hate? Do you speak words of blessing? Do you speak words that are complaining? Or do you speak words that are life giving? So it's important to identify and be intentional about the words that are being spoken over your relationship. And Francesca, I loved your presentation yesterday. I mean, it was phenomenal, phenomenal. I've never seen anybody take self and analyze it the way you did, and it was amazing. I had to say that to you. But it's important for you, and she mentioned affirmation yesterday. Whether you know it or not, you are indeed affirming something. It's either negative or positive, and this is what you will see in your relationships. And how can you affirm your husband as a friend? Now, for me, like I said, many times marriage takes the perspective of one that is romantic, but not as much as a friend. And so for me, I expected my husband to compliment me. I expected him to tell me he loves me, and I expected all these different things. But one day he broke it to me. He was like, "But I need it too. You have to affirm me too." And I didn't really take that into consideration, that my husband also needs my praise. I need to be his cheerleader. I need to be the one that when he has a bad day at work or a bad day at school, if he's has maybe a mental block, because my husband is a writer, it's important for him even to get that gets his juices flowing,
Yep.
just like us. Before we want to get to know him, we are expecting some kind of foreplay. We want, those sweet words, those things that just get our guard down. It's the same thing for him. He needs to be built up and not torn down. And another thing that you have to keep in mind when showing yourself friendly is also connecting. And many times we think about quality time, but not enough quantity time. Like I mentioned, my husband and I had a long distance marriage. So that means that we don't wake up next to each other every day. We get to do that maybe 4 months out of the year, because he comes home for Christmas break, he comes home for summer break, and spring breaks. So we have three trips in the year where we get to see each other. Either I go up or he comes down to St. Martin. And that meant that even if he's not home, that means I have to, that either he calls, I call. And it's not waiting until he calls and, oh, you didn't call me for today. So you see, why gonna hold back from him that I already can't even give him from across the seas? So it's important. It's important for me as a wife to connect with him. Babe, how you doing? How's school? You had that presentation. How did it go? You had a meeting. You were going to meet somebody new, somebody who's going to maybe give you an internship. How did that go? Is there anything I can do? Show interest in the things that interest him. And also meeting, when I said quality and quantity. So make sure that your connections are deep and rich, but also make it often. Connect meaningfully and connect often. That is key in your marriage. Honor him, show kindness to him, be friendly to him, be open with him, be non judgmental. Another thing that a friend is not, is it or does not do, is compare. It is very common for us to look at the things around us and compare. Oh, look at Darren and Charmaine's marriage. Look, look at the challenge they're doing. And you just look at your husband at home, you just shaking your head like, get a clue, boo. But it's important for you to look at the things that he is doing for you, that he is providing for you. Maybe you're in a different position where you maybe not able to do as much as you want, but you have to be creative. My husband, my birthday just passed 2 weeks ago, and with Rona, there's no restaurants open. There's nothing that we can do at night. And what did my husband do? My husband decided, hey, I'm gonna create a restaurant experience at home. We had a chef jacket. I don't even know where we got it from, but we had a chef jacket. My husband got all dressed in it. I told him, cook. I'm not helping. Surprise me, because since he's gone away, he's sharpened on his culinary skills. So I wanted to see what he's able to do. So he surprised me with creating some of my favorite dishes and some of my favorite cuisines all in one, which was Mexican and Asian. So a bit of the two. And even those little things counted. So for some, your husband may be able to give you Prada, or he's able to give you, I don't know, a shopping spree on Front Street. Another husband might be able to just give you an ice cream from Burger King, but it's his thought, the fact that he's factored you in to his daily thoughts. He's been intentional about making you happy, about making you feel special within the union. Okay. And not to compare. Also, um, while you're celebrating not just the strengths of your husband, it's also to celebrate the successes. And remember that you're the same team. So even if he has a success or a failure, you're on the same team, and to make yourself emotionally available to him. For me, as a woman, I can be as emotional as I want to in front of my husband. But with my husband, because of the background he comes from, it's not as easy for him to open up. But I can see the changes from when we just got married to where we are now, where gradually he'd open up to me about certain things. Babe, this is a fear of mine, or this is a dream that I had. I'm not sure what it means. So he involves me in those things that are intimate. So not just what we tend to describe as intimate, the bed, but in the secret things in our heart that we don't expose to anyone else. So becoming emotionally available, that you can hear him, support him, and also not to judge him. Because sometimes if a husband says, I'm struggling with this, um, like right now with the pandemic that we're all, being affected by in some way, shape, or form, um, people may lose jobs. And for a man, I mean, it's important for him to be able to provide for his family. So what happens in a situation now where maybe your income is affected and he feels like he can't do as much as he would like to for the family? What do you do in that place, in such a situation? So as a wife, you have to be sensitive to be able to provide that emotional support for him. Um, and I would like to mention that as I mentioned, we're on the same team. It's also important to note that celebrating you or celebrating your husband does not take away from your personal work or your personal worth. It is not a competition. If he wins, you win. That means if he gets extra income, you're going to get that Prada bag you always wanted. It's the same team. Every success, every failure, it belongs to both of you. And it doesn't take away from your personal worth. It doesn't make you any less special. It doesn't degrade you in any way if your husband, receives a promotion. You're on the same team. Another thing is to be careful and graceful in speech, not indiscriminate in selecting your friends or even having conversation. You don't want to keep the company of persons who threaten your marriage. You want to have people who are like-minded, who believe the same things about marriage, who believe in the sanctity of marriage, who believe in covenant. I have a very small circle. I can count them on my hands, the people who are close to me. And then I also have, my associates. But I know there are two particular couples. They were the witnesses for our wedding, and they're still in our lives. And we selected them because not because we like them and because they're well known or anything like that, but because they have been married a longer time and they were able to pour into our lives because we're going into a new season of our lives. We're transitioning, and they were able to equip us with the wisdom that we need for that season that we're going into. So it's important to choose your friends carefully. You don't want to choose friends who refer to men as dogs, because you know what? She's calling your husband a dog. And when you treat your husband like a dog you're going to get. So you have to be able to be
Yeah.
um, able to speak life into your husband. You might not be doing everything right. My husband, a lot of people see my husband, and I mean, he's well known. You could consider him, prominent or whatever. Um, but he has his challenges, and I get to see those things. But does it mean that I'm going to parade and let everyone know, Ralph, this is his weakness? No, 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 no. I protect what belongs to me. I protect my own husband.
That's right.
And that, oh Lord, he's in the room and he's there doing a jig. But it's important for me to protect my household, to build my household and not tear it down with my hands. So it's to be careful and graceful in speech. The Bible says, in my research, I saw what it says about gossip. It says gossip separates intimate friends. That's Proverbs 16:28. So look at how at the communication that you're having. Is it drawing you and your husband closer, or is it driving a wedge between the two of you? You're noticing distancing. What have you been listening to?
Yeah.
Evil communication corrupts good manners. What have you been listening to that is driving a wedge between you and your husband because there was something about him that you loved before you said I do, and all of a sudden now you said I do, you can't stand him. You need to go back and listen. What have I been tuning into? Have I been watching shows that disrespect the institution of marriage, or do I listen to content or even watch content? Be careful of your eye gate and your ear gate. What are you paying attention to? Is it building or is it tearing down? Are you being a wise wife or are you being a foolish wife? It's really up to you. Another thing that a friend does not do is flatter. Now, many times we look at gossip and we think, that's the only way that we can, the only negative communication you could say against your partner. But it's also flattery, because flattery has a hidden agenda. There's something that you are looking at in your spouse that you don't quite like, but you're not speaking to him from a pure heart. You don't want to be patronizing either. You want to be able to speak to him in a way that builds him up, but like I said, not flattering. Um, Another thing, as we're talking about your spouses, is friends also cover and forgives an offense. And Charmaine touched on that before I could even present. She was like, forgive. Y'all are able to forgive your girlfriends and your husband. You just, somehow, you're not able to just let it go. And I think building on what Francisca said yesterday is that if you have a strong sense of self-awareness, one of the first things you would know about yourself is you mess up and you're not perfect. And the same grace that you're expecting from your husband or from your friends, you have to be able to extend the same to him. You have to be able to extend that grace, because at the end of the day, this is the man that vowed to cover you and to keep you, not your friends. Your friends, after a while, they're going to talk with you and then they're going to go home and they're going to leave you feeling broken and bitter. Patch it up with your husband. Forgive him. Love covers a multitude of sins. There's some things that you just need to let go. Um, And as we're talking about protecting your covenant, I want to bring to light a relationship that isn't necessarily a romantic relationship. It's not a marriage, but David and Jonathan, their relationship spoke of covenant in the way that it protects and it also pushes you. It protects one, the identity, the reputation, the calling, and the future of one another, while pushing you and encouraging you in your relationship with God, and then also pushing you into your purpose with God. David, when Jonathan passed, when he found out of his death, he said that he loved him more than the love of women. And some people misconstrue what that means. It means the love of women, eros, which is from the soulish realm. It is easily exceeded by the agape love that Jonathan was able to display to him and him being able to reciprocate to him. Jonathan, just from a conversation with his father Saul, recognized the kind of man David was, and he was not in any way intimidated by the call on David's life. He didn't feel like as if, you know what, this man is trying to get my throne. I'm gonna sabotage it and I'm going to undermine it and I'm gonna discourage him. No, 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 no. It's from the time he had a conversation with his father, it says that his heart was knitted to David. And I'm jumping ahead of my notes, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Good friends invest. Good friends invest. Jonathan, it was said that he invested in David his robe, his sword. Um, and these are things that a king has: a bow, his belt. These are things that he gave to David, recognizing, wait, this is going to be the new king. These are some things that he's going to need. So, if my husband speaks to you about a
Then at least we have an idea, and Charity has an idea where she can go back and just continue. But please put it back in the share this again so that people can know that we're still on and that it's the same live, okay? So we can get the numbers back up and Charity can continue. So anyone can just let us know if you can hear us. Just throw it out in the chat. Let us know. These things happen. Let me see. Okay. I see the numbers going back up. So people are either coming back in or we're back on track. Okay.
Okay. Where was the last point we ended? Good friends invest.
The last point. Yeah.
Good friends invest.
Okay.
I don't know how far in I got.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure the last part, but can we go back to the investment part? I know you were talking about, you know, going into some examples there. So that's the last part that I heard. But yeah, we're good to go again. Right. Share this again, everyone, so that we can get it back to where we were and everybody else can come in.
All right, great. Okay, so the last thing we talked about was good friends invest. I want to make sure everyone can hear me. I'm looking at the live. Yes? Yes? Excellent. Okay. Okay, so thank you, Audra. So the last thing we spoke about was the king's garments. Okay, excellent. So, like I mentioned, Jonathan, because he discerned the direction, he discerned the future of his friend David, he decided to invest. He took from him, it took something of value as well, because he didn't go to the store or tell the tailor, look, stitch up a robe quick for me, please. This man said he's going to be king and I need to make sure he gets a robe. No. He took something. It cost him something. He took his robe. He took his belt. He took his sword. He took his bow and he gave it to his friend David because he perceived the direction in which he's going. So when you're able to perceive that as a friend, the next action is to invest. Invest. If you know the direction your spouse is going, he may be in seed form, invest. My husband, when we got married, I would say more mature in Christ. My husband was a babe in Christ. And because I perceived where he was going, I didn't treat him as a babe and try to teach him John 3:16 over and over. No. I recognized that he was a man of valor. So I would speak words of encouragement in him. I would try to build him up. I would send scriptures. I would send songs. I would send um, sermons. Even with his professional life, if I see a conference that I think would interest him, I send it to him. Babe, I think this is going to be great for you. Check it out. It's vice versa. So if he sees something that is regarding women's empowerment, girls empowerment, um, the Johnny Caker, he's going to send it to me. He's like, babe, check this out. So good friends invest, and they invest well. Also, as we're on that, good friends do not smother each other. You don't want to be, all up under him all the time. You want to give him the space. One, you want to be his lover, yes, but you also want to give him the space that he can explore his own interests, that he can explore relationships also with the same sex. So even as he gives me the space to be with my friends, to go out, to have lunch or whatever, that he can connect with his friends, because there's some problems, and I have to be honest with myself, that I can't help him with. I'm a woman. I can't teach him how to be a man. I can't teach him certain things that he can only get from, people that share that same experience. The same way how I would go to female friends and and ask them how they dealt with certain situations in their own lives. In the same wise, I have to give him the room to go and do that. But also as you give him the space, also, reconnect, show interest here and there. Oh, I see you like basketball. No, you don't care a lick about basketball. You probably like the shorts more than the game itself. Sit down on the couch and watch a game with him. Don't say, change the channel. I don't want to watch that. I want to watch Tiny Homes. I don't know. But you wanna show interest in the things that interest him, and allow him to be himself. Another thing that I also don't want to leave out is pushing your husband in his relationship with God. King Solomon, as wise as he was, as powerful as he was, as wealthy as he was, and as admired as he was, one of the things that he regretted at the end of his life is how his relationship with God had taken a turn. And why was that? It was because he loved foreign women. And it's not that God has a thing against women who are not from here. It is not that he only wanted him to be with Israelite women. It was that the God of the Israelite woman would be the God that he would seek. So it's important that you, as his friend, and as his wife, that you would push him either further, even more, into a relationship with God, so that the things that you as a woman can't handle, that this is a God-sized problem, that you realize that you are limited as well as a woman. That's the way where he has to press into God for wisdom, that he has to press into God and get his own answers considering the situation. So, and not to seek the approval of others, not to seek the validation of others, not to seek other gods, but it's to seek the God who gave you the purpose that you have, the purpose that you're trying to fulfill and you don't understand. Seek him. So a wise woman pushes him in that relationship, not just in a relationship with herself, because that would be selfish. And anything that tries to take the place of God, it will break. It will break. So it's very important for you as a wife to push him into the things of God as well. Another thing that a friend is not or does not do is it does not despise, but it discerns and it acknowledges changes. I think it's in 2 Samuel 6:16. Michal, David's wife, there was something happening in Israel, and David was jubilant about it, and she just didn't understand his expression, and she despised it in her heart. Good friends don't despise. Even if you don't understand, you better celebrate too. And this is a woman that was supposed to be in covenant with him, and she despised him. And the result was barrenness for her, that she was not able to bear a child in the span of her life. However, um, I see it was in Job 17:5 where it talks about flattery, because flattery is at the root um, of despise. When a person despises another, it masks itself in flattery. It has all the pretty things to say, these lovely things to say about that person, because it doesn't know how to express itself. But it does more harm than good. It will prevent you from leading a productive life like Michael. She was unable to bear a child, or it will rob your children of vision. If you look at Job 17:5, it says, he who flatters, even the eyes of his children will fail. And I believe that means that they will be robbed of vision. They will also lead to the same thing. They will also lead to ruin. So it's important as a wife to build, to build, to build. If you don't understand it, doesn't matter. Build, build with him. Do not despise him. Do not flatter him. And this is where we another area I want us to look at is that a good friend is a faithful critic. So if you see your husband going down the wrong path, if he's doing things that are not helpful, and maybe he's keeping company that you don't think would be fruitful, or would help him in the path that he's on, that's where you as a wife provide accountability. And
Yes.
maybe not even with his associations, but even with his lifestyle. So with my husband and like I mentioned, we have a strong friendship. And I can tell my husband, like, babe, I noticed you gain a little weight. Or he can even tell me, babe, I love you. I love the way you are. I love the way you look and everything. But I think I've noticed that you're putting on a little weight. I think maybe that let's go walking together. Maybe we should change your diet. I don't think you should eat this. And a good friend looks out for your benefit. It looks out for a good friend looks out for your growth, and they're able to tell you. They're not going to tell you the sweet words that you want to hear all the time. Sometimes it's going to hurt, but it's for your benefit.
Yeah.
They are a faithful critic, and they correct from a place of love and concern. A good friend corrects from a place of love and concern. I also want to note that a good friend is also a safe place. So while we talked about the successes of that friend, it is also to create a space where um, you're able to provide comfort, to provide support. Um, with David and Jonathan, he was able to look out for David in the areas where he saw he was about to lead to ruin, or anything that threatened his purpose, even if it meant going against his father. Because many times Saul wanted to harm David because he wanted to stop him. But the thing is, God will always align you with someone who will be able to discern these things ahead of time. And even if he recognized that the call on David was so great that he didn't want any harm to happen to him. So he would foresee um, what his father was about to do, and he would say, you know what, go home for the weekend, go and spend time with your father. I tell him that you went home for the annual feast and that you needed to be with your family. So he discerned that what was taking place, and he also discerned that he had a responsibility to protect that on David. And he was able to make peace with David's call, even if it was misunderstood for many. But I think I've said a lot for tonight. And I don't want to go any further. I think so much has been said, and I really want to just leave um, the women, the wives with this, and even the husbands that are tuned in, is that friend builds their house on a foundation of godly precepts, but a foolish one lacks spiritual insight and tears it down with their own hands. So we have a responsibility to be life giving or to speak death over the situation, over our household, over our relationships. And I just implore you to choose life.
Wow. Charity, can I, is, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Are you done?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I
I'm gonna.
mean, you could
Definitely
have
have to stop right there.
you could have gone on and on for me. This was good. I was like, I hope I'm not interrupting because, I mean, I'm running out of pages here. If anybody else has been receiving this and it's been so good, just put that in the chat. So good, Charity. So good. You gave us a mouthful. So many points here, and they're supported by the Word of God as well. So that tells us that these are some qualities that God doesn't just expect us to have with our own husbands, but also in general with friends. Our relationship with others as well. But the point that you made about showing yourself friendly, that one there, I don't know what stood out for the others in the chat, but somebody said in the chat, you have my permission to continue my dare. And that came from a mother. So you know, if the mothers say that you can continue, then you better continue. That means it's really good. And these are women of wisdom. So I'm not going to even fret with that. But showing yourself friendly, just elaborate a little more on that, because you went really good on it, but I think that you can give us some more on that part
Okay.
there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, as showing oneself friendly, it's one creating or becoming that person that you would like to receive. So, even as your husband comes into the home, think of it as yourself, on the other end. How would you want to be received into the home? How would you want to be? How would you like your interactions to be on a daily basis between your husband and yourself? What are the expectations that you have as from your husband? The onus is not only on him as a husband, but even as you as a wife, you also can set the tone. Yes, sometimes we get up and you maybe didn't rest well, maybe you had a bad day, you know it doesn't mean that you have the, I don't want to say the right, for lack of a better word, but it doesn't mean that you should have that negative attitude in the household, because that is going to be the aroma that you give off. Is what and a lot of people refer to it as the energy.
Yeah, the energy.
The energy that you're giving off
I use
is
that
this
word a
is
lot.
what you're going to draw to yourself.
Yeah.
If you are giving off bitterness, it is bitterness that would be reciprocated. Now,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that your husband has the right to just be bitter with you. Hopefully, he is mature and he maybe recognizes you're having a bad day. But like Francesca talked about this morning, yesterday, it's taking responsibility. This is the tone that I want to set in my household, and so this is the way I'm going to behave. For me and my husband, we have a lot of fun together. We play. The only thing we don't do is wrestle because I fear one of us get hurt. But but it's to be playful with him,
Yeah.
to play with his ears, tickle each other, run around the house, have share those easy going moments. I mean, the world itself out there is tough and tiring in itself. You hear the bad news all the time nowadays. So it's, what kind of atmosphere are you creating in your household, and what kind of atmosphere are you creating within your relationship? So another thing that I mentioned was the way that you connect quality and quantity. Now, quantity means often.
Yeah.
You can't take any days off. No,
Mm.
because you know how it is as a wife. If your husband was to wake up and he didn't tell you good morning, you know
Yeah.
the day is about to be bad for everybody.
That nobody eat it. No food.
So it's important for you as a wife as
Yeah.
well. You
Yeah.
get up, you'd say, "Good morning,
Good
babe."
morning. Yeah.
How'd you sleep? You
Mhm.
know, um, I'm going down to make some coffee. Would you like some coffee too? I'm gonna make some bush tea. My husband told me bush tea. I'm going to make some bush tea, do you want some bush tea too?
Yeah.
You're not self-serving. And one of the things that we also had to do within our first year was, and I didn't get a touch on that. So thank you for asking me to
Mhm.
build more on that.
There's more in
Is
you. Let it
it's
out.
it's exceeding it's trying to outdo each other.
Mm.
So if it
That's
means
good.
he's going to make, let's say I made breakfast yesterday, he can try to outdo me, and he's going to make breakfast for me today.
Yeah.
Maybe it's simple. I'm expecting him to keep the toilet seat down.
Mhm.
So he goes above and beyond. He keeps the toilet seat down. He sprays some Glade in there so there smells nice. So when I come downstairs after him and use the restroom, that it smells nice and light and fresh.
Yeah.
It's just going the extra mile. Jesus also many times talked about, if someone asks you to go with you a mile, go an extra one.
Yeah.
But trying to outdo each other. And I want to commend you and Karen again with the anniversary challenge. I'm still Team Charmaine.
That's right. Whoop, 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 whoop.
But it's important for you as a couple
Yeah.
to find ways to outdo each other in love. Don't try to outdo, the foolish woman. Remember, the foolish woman who lacks spiritual insight tears it down with her
Mm.
own hands by ignoring godly principles. So the world tells us, oh, he cheated. Now, I'm not saying you have to stay in that relationship, but oh, he cheated. I got him.
Mhm.
I'm going to throw his clothes on the lawn. I'm going to tell the children what he did. I'm going to spray paint the car. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And it's like, after you did all that, then what?
Yeah.
Then
Wow.
what?
You know,
So it's
you
important.
you know what
Go,
amazes me,
yeah,
because we are church kids, so I can go there with you.
yeah,
Often, sometimes we talk about, how much we are so blessed, and we love the fact that God has forgiven us, and we boast about that. Most of us, our salvation is based on that. If you ask us why are we even saved and all that good stuff, we were going
yeah,
through the whole thing. Jesus loves me. He died on a cross for me. But the foundation of that is Him forgiving us for something that we did, and even before we did it.
mm-hmm.
But when it comes to marriage, I sometimes wonder, especially among us as Christians, why is it so difficult for us to extend that same measure of grace that we have freely received from God? What do you think is the gap between that? What's causing that difference for us as women, as wives?
I think I think maybe sometimes we don't. I think sometimes we're not even we don't know the extent to which we've received grace. And I think we have we've received poor teaching in many cases about grace and what God has done for us. We have the songs, we have the jig and everything, but our theology is wrong. We don't even believe, you know, that God loves us, that He loved us enough to die.
Yeah.
And my husband and I were just having that conversation because he's studying Romans. He said, um, for a bad man, we won't even consider the thought.
Yeah.
For a good man, not even him. It doesn't matter how good he is or how good a woman is. There's no one that we can think of that we're willing to give up our lives for. Some people, they are on the line of duty, and they end up having to protect the lives of others, and sometimes at the cost of losing their own. But it's not that they're doing it intentionally. The fact that Jesus laid down His life
Yeah.
when we didn't even know Him, when we were, as the Bible speaks to it, as enemies. Now, are you and your husband enemies? He doesn't refer to you as that,
No.
but that is the relationship that you and God previously had. He decided to lay down his life for you, that
Wow.
he laid down his life as a friend. So it's the same thing as a woman, as a wife, rather, that you have to understand that even your righteousness is as filthy rags. And I think when you come from that standpoint, that you realize that I'm messed up. I also need to receive grace. I'm not perfect. I probably may never attain perfection. I might be working towards it, but it's not gonna come. It's not something that I can attain in this life.
Yeah.
But yet, Christ died
Died.
for me.
Wow.
And once you have that perspective, I believe it becomes a lot easier for you to give grace to your husband. That you understand that he's also broken, he's also messed up, he's coming with his own baggage probably from previous relationships, but not even relationships, but also your life experiences are different. And because of the social exchanges you've had throughout your life, it sometimes shaped the way you interact with others. So when you come from that standpoint, also understanding that we all have a past, we all have history, it becomes easier. You're able to see him as a human being. You get to see him as a individual that can mess up.
Right. And coming back to theology and our beliefs, sometimes we feel like even though we know that we are already forgiven, but we still have to work towards actually receiving that forgiveness or being worthy
Yeah.
of it. So as you mentioned, sometimes the background understanding, background truth, the things that our faith is based on, what we choose to hold on to, we often carry it into our marriage. And it's like, okay, babe, I forgive you, but you still got to do a lot of things to prove to me that you're really sorry first. And that also is not okay. There's some things that I tell my husband, listen, whether you mean it or not, that part there, it's too much for me to carry. I'm not carrying all of that. You did your part already by saying, you know what, babe, I'm sorry, yada, yada, yada. I did my part by saying, I forgive you. Now let's move on. If you mean it or don't mean it, that's between you and God. That part there, I cannot control that part, and that's something that we need to free ourselves as women from trying to control everything, trying to foresee and foreknow and control whether something is really true or not. That is not our responsibility. That's not what God's intention was for us, to be joined to this man. So there's some things that, because he's the head of me, as in the head of the home, but he also has a head as husband. And there's some things that the head and him, two heads, gonna have to deal and man to man
We have
with.
to work it out.
They're gonna have to work it out. You're gonna
Yeah.
have to work it out. I got a lot more peace, revelation, understanding of things when I submitted unto him, under my husband, even when I didn't understand everything. But at the same time, I could have still brought some things to God and say, you know what, God, I am stuck. Literally, I feel stuck. Because, not stuck as in suppressed or restricted, but stuck as in, I hear what my husband is saying, but I needed to talk to him again, God, because something ain't right. And then maybe a few days after, he would come and he would be like, about that thing we talked about yesterday. So God has been dealing with me on this, and I want us to talk about it. And I'm like, oh, God has been dealing with you? Oh, okay. I know what happened. Right? But, and that's where you can still remain submitted and still remain the wife and know,
Correct.
you know, that God has it. Because at the end of the day, it's not, God is not on your side or your husband's side. He covers both of you, and he's looking forward to the best interest of both husband and wife as a unit.
Correct.
as a
Correct.
whole. So he is not going to allow you to be disappointed just for the sake of the man being the head, or vice versa, because you're the weaker vessel as a woman, that everything you want you get. That's not how it works. So whatever is the
Indeed.
best interest for the family, whatever the forgiveness and the friendship can create a beautiful picture, flower, whatever, God has that best interest in heart as well.
Indeed.
Right.
Indeed.
So I love everything about this, but I don't know if anybody has any questions in the chat. This is your time to send in your questions. I have one or two questions for Charity. It's still early, because
It
I'm sure
is.
after this conference, some of you are going to go on Facebook scrolling and probably put up on some post that's not supporting what we discussed tonight. So we want to prevent all of that and be the that difference for you tonight on Facebook. But if you have any questions, this is your time to just put it out in the chat right now, because we're going to take a moment to go over it. And I'm going to ask Charity a few questions until you all put in your questions. But please put them in. And if you haven't shared this yet, please do so, because we need people to hear this tonight. Charity, you spoke about gossip earlier. And you said that from the Word of God that gossip separates intimate friends. That was good. But sometimes, let's say you walk into a room and as a wife, and somebody makes a statement about your husband. It's not the best. It's negative. But if truth be told, they lying. It's the truth. How? I mean, I've been there. I'm like, Charmaine, Darren, and I'm like, what? Like, okay, and you're really trying to keep it together because, okay, I'm not too happy about what you're telling me, but at the same time, I must admit, it's not a lie. How do you advise women to carry on when they're faced or stuck in a situation like that? Because usually when those things happen, it's really to embarrass you or to show themselves or to make you feel bad about, you think you have a
Yeah.
good husband, but you don't know that he's this and that too. How should women respond to things like that?
We protect publicly and correct privately.
So how do we
I look,
respond?
I admire Hillary Clinton. I know she had quite a tough pill to swallow many years ago when there were many allegations about her husband, at
Yeah.
the time. And for many women, and I know for myself, God forbid to be ever placed in such a position where you probably know that what they're saying is true, but recognizing that you are the same team, one, and two, acknowledging that he is the head of the household. Even if he's not respectful, it is to respect him enough to dismiss such claims within that environment and then address it at home. So I think even in a man's weakest moment, he still needs the support of the woman in his life, even if you don't agree with what he did. It's just to protect him in the eyes of everyone else. And then when you get home, babe, you were dead wrong. You were
Yeah.
dead wrong. It could be something he did at work. It doesn't have to be necessarily unfaithfulness, but it could be something at work. It could be maybe something that happened with one of his friends. Maybe he wronged a friend. But, it's protect him as best as you can as a wife. And then when you get home, you hash it out.
Yeah.
You hash it out then.
And that's
But I
good.
think, yeah, many women, but I think men appreciate it even more when they feel like there's at least one person in the corner. That loyalty.
Yeah. Yeah. But um, sometimes people, when they bring these things up, they just want that satisfaction of having you admit that yeah, your husband was bad in this area or did this wrong. And I just want to let wives know that you don't have to tell people, yes, he's wrong in this area, and then deal with it at home. No. You don't have to give them that satisfaction as well.
Oh.
You can respectfully just let them know, I hear your
You don't want to
concern.
talk about this,
I
or
hear your
yeah.
concern. I don't want to talk about it right now, but thank you for sharing your concern, and you walk away. But when you go home, as Charity says, then you talk about it. And you don't owe anybody any explanation after that as
No,
well, because sometimes they will
no.
come to you after, like, so did you talk to your husband about it? Did you fix him? These are the things that they do. And
Yeah.
then, at that moment, you can park them up on the side. But you need to not feel as a wife like you have to,
Obligated.
like you're
Yeah.
obligated to agree with them or obligated to
Mm-hmm.
share their experience. You don't even have to share much. You don't have to say much, because sometimes it's in those settings you end up saying more than you really plan to say, and then you
Mm-hmm.
trap yourself. So you don't need all of that. And then it's almost futile to even want to engage in a conversation with your husband at home, because the first thing he's going to ask you is, what did you say? And based on what you said, it can either shut the whole thing down and the friendship goes
Mm-hmm.
down the drain. It's like, but you should not have
Yeah.
said that. And it becomes a
Yeah.
fight now between you and your husband, and then they're walking away free and
Mm-hmm.
laughing. So those are some simple things, even though it's simple, but I always say those are the little opening doors that the devil creeps in and causes chaos in a marriage. And like sometimes my husband will say, what are we even fighting about again? You can't even trace it back.
Correct.
It's like it's just chaotic, and it goes way back, and it had nothing to do
Yep.
with you or your marriage.
Yep.
So
And it's not gonna matter in some cases. It's not gonna even matter a week later,
right.
a month later. It's just strife.
Right. So we're not just here as wives trying to tell you how to be a better friend, but we're also giving you strategies to be aware of, like Charity mentioned. Be careful of what you watch. Be careful of the people that you hang around with.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's going to be supportive of the culture you're trying to create in your marriage, the dynamic that you're building, the friendship between you and your spouse. Not everybody's going to understand that. And we don't want to give them much attention in this life. We're not talking about haters and all that stuff. But we
No.
really have to also be mindful that everybody doesn't have your best interest at heart. So,
But one thing I'd like to add as you're mentioning this is also you might not know always how to deal with situations. Um, and again, you don't have to be you're not obligated to respond. You're not obligated to give them anything. You don't have to. If
mhm,
you're sure how to do it, there's a community like this one,
right.
the My Own Husband group, which is a community of wives, learn from one another.
Mhm,
Titus 2 talks about the older women teaching the younger women.
mhm,
How have you, as older women, handled situations like this with your husband, where you weren't sure how to answer? He put you maybe in an awkward situation. You know he was wrong, but how did you respond to it?
yeah.
So you might not have the answers immediately. I mean, there are a lot of things I still have to learn in marriage. And for the things that I don't know, I try to get the insights of others who I believe have been in the same or similar situations. I
Mm,
don't I don't know it all. So it's also coming from a place of humility, seek out wisdom.
yes. This is why it's important you put your questions in the chat.
There's a
And
question actually.
yeah, I see there's a question from Shalom Roselia. How to
Hmm.
encourage them in their spiritual walk.
Okay. So love your question
Yeah, it's a very
because
good question.
this was something I had to deal with as a wife. Like I mentioned earlier, my husband is a lot earlier, a lot, yeah, far earlier in his walk with Christ than I was. But one thing I um, would recommend you don't do is try to become his personal evangelist or mentor. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're going to create a dynamic where you are the teacher and he's a student. And for him, at a certain point, I don't know how to say this.
Say
Um,
it. Say it.
at some point, you're gonna get humble because there's for a lot of times in the church, there's in a lot of women who have been the teachers. They have been the ones teaching. Many come and grow up in households where the mother as well was a teacher. But if you can find a male role model, a male who is further along in his walk, push him in that direction. Don't say, well, pastor say you need to come to church, because that is one of the worst things you can do as a wife, to try and make it seem like you're tattletaling on your husband to your spiritual leader, because then that pushes him further away. Remember, a wise woman builds her house. Many times Paul would talk about, not many times in the New Testament, I can't remember the exact reference, but I remember when Paul was speaking to women who are married to a man who is unbelieving, and how do you win him over? Your attitude, your conduct
Yeah.
within the household is what will win him over. My husband, at no time did I say, "Hey, you went to church this Sunday. What did Pastor preach about?" Mind my business. It is his personal responsibility, because if you create that kind of relationship, it become more like a mother-son relationship. You're
Yeah.
constantly checking in with him. Oh, did you do this? Oh, did you? By the way, did you take out the garbage? Oh, did you wash the dishes? Oh, did you? Did
Did
you?
you?
Did
Did
you?
you?
And after a while, he's gonna get fed up. But if you give him the space to grow and pattern behavior that is Christ-like, then he is more likely to move in that direction. I would share dreams with him. I would pray with him, and so on. But in some cases, I would even initiate, but I did not force. I didn't want him to feel like I was trying to be the head of the home. I still wanted him to feel like he was leading and giving him the space to grow as a leader.
Yeah.
My husband, he's quite the scholar, so he learns quickly. So as he learned, and he was like, "Babe, let's pray before
Yeah.
we go out. Let's have devotion." And also, what he would see me, he would mimic that. So if he sees me um, praying or meditating or chanting, then he would be like, okay, um, how do you get these prophetic songs, and how do you go about having devotions or whatever? Sometimes he might not ask me. Sometimes he would ask his mentors. One of them is Darren. So he would talk to Darren earlier on, because he and Darren had that relationship from way before. So he can also seek out wisdom from him. How do I go about doing this? And then that also, as a wife, it absolves me of that responsibility for him, for his spiritual walk. I don't have to take on that responsibility. But what I can do is provide support in the way that I conduct myself.
Yes. So, Roselia, that was the answer Charity provided. I hope that answers your question and brought you some more insight on that. I see another question from Audra that says,
That is a tough one.
if a couple is on the brink of divorce and barely speaking, how could they become friends again? That's a good one.
That's a very tough one. Hmm.
Well, if I may, I would say you always try to go back to how it started, or how was the friendship formed, if there was a friendship. Um, but where divorce is concerned, especially if the conversation is already ongoing or decisions are already being made,
Mm-hmm.
or depending on the reason for the friendship, for
For
the divorce,
divorce.
sorry,
Yeah.
they're not quite interested in being friends at that moment. So I always,
Correct.
yeah, and for such questions, I think it's unique to the situation. Sometimes we want to build something that no longer exists. Um, Maybe there was a time for that where it was still soft and you could have turned the situation. And sometimes we ignore those things, and now it became so hard that it's like everybody's stiff neck. I'm not budging. I'm not moving. And sometimes for your own peace, it is better to let it go, and then sometimes it comes back together naturally on its own without you trying to force anything. But um, where friendship is concerned, I don't think and can come up with any way where you can go back to what was normal without us dealing with what went wrong.
Correct. Correct. That's true.
So we can't go back to the front. We got to deal with how we got here, and then we move back and try to see how we could fix it from that
I
way
see
in.
we got some help in the comments as well
Okay, let me see.
from Apostle Rose Toulon.
Uh-huh.
And like she said, they would need intervention to recreate or establish communication. Some people need a third party, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's wisdom right
totally.
there.
So referrals can be made. Sometimes you need a third party. And then, of course, you need the compliance of both parties as well to
Exactly.
come
You need
together.
to acknowledge that there is a problem
Right.
and that
But
both want to move forward.
right, and that is also very ticklish because both parties have to agree. And then because you don't want a situation where like you went behind my back to create this meeting and I'm not
Because
aware
that
of it.
creates further distance.
Correct. So I would say a lot of you gotta have to apply some wisdom
Yep.
with that. Someone said fireproof is a good example for that question. Okay. Some people do need a third party. That's true. And trust will have to be rebuilt. Yep.
Indeed.
Any
Thanks for the help.
yes? Any
Awesome,
more
Wilbur.
questions? Okay, so I have another question for you, Charity, and I love this because we need to, apart from what you shared, people have real experiences and questions, and this is a part that we usually shy away from because we don't want anybody to know our business, or sometimes it's not even about your business, it's just some things that we gotta talk about. So please don't feel shy, put it in the chat. We want to address, or at least try to address, as many as we can. But you spoke about investing in relationships earlier, which was good. I love that part as well because I am one that I believe strongly in both parties investing. But in this time of crisis, everybody's shut in, everybody's to themselves, we're in quarantine. We're not quite sure, or some wives, let's put it that way, out there are listening and they're like, okay, how do I invest? It's a mess. Everything is shut down. There's nothing we can do. We are not working, no jobs. Business is not like before. They don't understand what you mean by this investing thing going on in marriage or in relationship. Please elaborate a little more on that. Give us some examples of how wives can still invest, not just for them to do it, but how the whole culture of investment can still continue in the marriage, even in
Okay.
crisis.
Okay. So, for instance, I'll use the example of my husband, who just returned home. His graduation may either be postponed or canceled because of the current situation, but he's completed his studies, he's back home, and it's what's the next step? So there's a lot of time with many of us home in self isolation. Um, we have a lot of time on our hands, and we still have the resource of the internet available to us. We have books available to us online or even in our personal libraries that we haven't touched in a long time. Um, but it's being creative. So for us, business might not be the same. So one thing we would do is begin to brainstorm the direction that we want to go. So we plan brainstorm sessions as a couple. Where do we see ourselves going? Things are changing. Maybe there might not be any job to resume after this whole pandemic. Um, or maybe there's an opportunity within your job that has been made open, or a particular need within the market. As a couple, identify what those things are, and also identify what you still have. One thing that has helped my husband and I during this season was maintaining a sense of gratitude for where we are, and for how far we have come. We constantly singing. One song that we constantly singing at home is "Gratefulness" by Hezekiah Walker. But as we maintain that atmosphere of gratitude at home, it's an investment in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude, you can never go wrong with gratitude. But then also, it makes us aware of what we do have, and with the things that we do have, it can become um, a tool that we can use towards our future. So for us, it's brainstorming. That's one thing. Another thing that you can do to invest in each other is, like I mentioned, speaking life, affirming each other during this time. If you're fearful, you're worried about what's the next move, begin to speak life into each other. You might not be able to think where you're going to go as yet, but begin to speak life. That
Yes.
if it's one thing that you can hold on to in this time, is God's word. Begin to speak God's word over each other. Begin to speak God's word over each other's health. Where people are fearful that they may contract this virus, what does the word of God say? And confess it over each other. That's one way of investing in each other. Investing in each other is another way. I mean, that you can do that is maybe sharing, um, having more quality time, because usually
Yeah.
when you're at work, you don't have the time to be with each other as much as you want to. By the time you get home, it's to cook, eat, put the kids to bed, maybe look over the homework. If you're lucky, you get lucky and go to bed.
Yes.
But now that you have the time, it's you can begin to rekindle that fire that you had
Yeah.
at the beginning of your relationship. Because even if you lose a lot of things, at the end of the day, you have each other.
Right. Right.
As a nation, we've done this. We've gone through a lot already, where many of us have lost homes. But that's when we realize what we really do have, and it's family, it's friends, the things, and the people who are close to us. Those are sometimes the only thing that you need. So it's to spend time and reflect.
Right. Okay, I love that, Charity, because people might think that okay, we just need to invest in the livelihood, whether in the finances and things like that. And right now, you may not be able to invest in
Mm-hmm.
anything where that is concerned. Like I was telling Darren the other night, that now it's like whether you have money in the bank or not, it can't really help you. Like we're stuck,
Mm-hmm.
we're just home, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we spend a lot of time together, quality time. I have more time to give him massages and all that good stuff. Put on my
Mm.
diffuser, all that
Wink,
stuff.
wink.
The lavender oil is going down. I gotta buy some more. But those are the things that we enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when this is all done, I knew that my husband, he rests, he takes his rest and stuff like that, but he can do it some more. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm investing that into him. I'm making sure that there's food, there's,
Mm-hmm.
all of that, you know, good breakfast, lunch, dinner, all that good stuff that we didn't always have the time to do and sit together and eat and talk and stuff like that. So that's a part of
Mm-hmm.
investment as well, doing something a little out of the box. As we mentioned earlier, don't
Mm-hmm.
become too familiar. Don't do the
Mm-hmm.
same rice and
Mm-hmm.
peas. Like, make the thing
Try some new
nice.
recipes. Try
Try
some new
some new
recipes.
recipes and stuff,
Check out
man.
check out the Johnny cake. I learn how to
That
make some Johnny
that's
cakes. I mean,
it, Some Johnny cakes. I'm making them hard, make the thing soft and nice, Invest in so he sees that you're taking the time to improve
yeah.
on your Johnny cakes. Shameless plug.
Or even the hubbies. I mean, it doesn't have to be the wife making it. Is she's out. Maybe your wife is the type who wakes up every morning. She makes
Yeah,
breakfast for everyone. Put a little spice in your marriage.
that's
Get yourself a
right.
mix. Make some breakfast for the whole family.
Yep.
Let her see that that you're able to contribute to the household in other ways. A lot of men see it as maybe just providing financially,
Yeah.
but make that woman a meal and see what happens.
All of that. So anyway, I told this whole quarantine season that they're not trapping me, y'all not getting me
Yep.
pregnant. We gotta stay vigilant, keep your eyes open, see beyond the rest.
Yep. But
But
I see Apostle Melrose also contributing. She said, invest even in their health, which is also good.
yeah.
Continue exercise. Like my husband and I, this morning we went to the
See.
beach, you know, got a nice swim because a few weeks ago I had a fall where I hurt my ankle. So it was to go out there and, try to get myself active again, back in my workout routine, making sure I'm eating the right foods. If I don't get to do grocery shopping, he'll pick up a few things. I know she needs some more cucumbers. I know she needs some more protein mix. She needs some bananas, whatever.
Yeah.
Those little things,
Yeah.
as small as it seems, it's an investment. The mere, and I remember years ago, I was at a workshop and the presenter talks about relationships that in a relationship, you're either making a deposit or a withdrawal. Think about every time you do something for your spouse, every time you think about your spouse and it acts it shows itself in a word, if it shows itself in an action, think of those things as deposits in your marriage bank,
Yeah.
in your relationship bank. And every time that you speak a negative word or a negative action or you take them for granted, see it as a withdrawal. So every time that you do something negatively, you can see your marriage bank slowly depleting. But the more you're putting in, the more you're going to get out of it. The
Right.
more you take out of it, the less you have.
Wow. I see another question here from Sharika. You spoke about small circles. And while I'm reading this question, just share this if you haven't shared it as yet. Share this live. And please tag persons that are not here yet. Even though they're late, but they're late, they can catch the replay. And yeah, just share this, okay? So Sharika said, you spoke about small circles and friendships. How do you handle if you are not in agreement with your spouse being friends with certain people? That's a good one. We wives, we always
It is
have
indeed.
issues with that. Like, I don't like your friends. I don't like your friends.
It does happen.
What's wrong with us? Like, let the man have his friends. He had his friends before you came. Like, let the man be.
But they're not all good.
Yes, that's true. They're not all good. Sometimes I look at
So,
some of them and I'm like, why are you here?
so now, this has happened with us already in our
Okay.
marriage, where we might not have agreed with a friend. Maybe I picked up some things just not right, and the same has been the opposite way. Before I go further, trust your judgment, your judgment. We tend to think that women are the only ones that are discerning. Men are very discerning and they pick up on details that even you as a wife might not even realize. With your long time friends and so on, your
Yeah.
husband been picking up something. So moving on. So my husband has had some friends that I wasn't too keen on. And one thing I had to realize, one is my husband is an adult and he's fully able to make his own decisions.
Yeah.
But I also know that any any relationship that he has in addition to ours has possibility of affecting ours both negatively, I mean both positively and adversely. So for me, um, it is one to pray for your husband concerning relationships and associations that he has, but also as a wife to voice your concerns in a way that doesn't tell him you can't be friends with that person, but also, but identify the principles that he stands for and where you can see that this association is not in alignment, because we don't want to we know how it is as well, or we wouldn't want our husband to tell us you shouldn't be friends with that person or you can't speak to that person anymore. You don't want to be controlling. But as a wife, you have a responsibility to advise him in and counsel him into um, correct decision making. So as a wife, I would say, firstly, pray about it because you need wisdom on how to approach the situation. But you also need to advise him and mention, I don't think that this is um, good for you. Depending on the direction you're going, based on your ideals, based on your principles, based on your morals, these are out of alignment. Um, or even maybe you're not even able to identify it quite yet. Maybe you just sense something that's a little off because some of us, our antennas go right up
Yeah.
when we meet with certain persons. But it is wisdom also to remain silent about it for a while and ponder on it in your heart. Wait.
Wait.
Sometimes it doesn't require you speaking up. Sometimes it works itself out.
Yeah. Without you
Sometimes it works.
meddling in it all the
And
time.
don't underestimate the power of prayer, because sometimes you just watch and you're like,
Yeah.
you got to pray them out.
Yes. Boy, I just wanted to go back very briefly. That question that Audra had about the divorced
Divorce.
couple barely speaking. Even though we moved on from that question, but the word barely just stuck in my head now. Do not underestimate that barely speaking, because it's in that barely speaking moment that, as Charity mentioned in some of her points, that they can connect meaningfully. So it takes wisdom and strategy from the wife, because we're talking about wives here now, where if she even has a minute to speak with her husband, that it's not about some problem or something he forgot to do or all of that good stuff. Just put all those things on the side and use that opportunity to build, use that opportunity to commend, use that opportunity to be thankful about even the simple things. If the whole point is to work things out. We're talking about people that are on the verge of divorce, but that doesn't mean that it cannot be worked out. So if that is the heart from both parties, then, and even if it's not the heart from the man, but the simple actions, the difference that she can bring when they're having those barely moments can really make a difference and almost erase everything that led to that divorce outcome.
Correct.
Okay, so I don't know if that helps Audra a little, but let the wife know to do not underestimate the barely moments and do not force too much. Okay, just
Interaction. Yeah.
right. Just appreciate the little things and the little time and the little moments. Apostle Melrose gave some
Yeah.
points here. I do not want to overlook anybody. After this, we're gonna close off. I think I missed it. Okay, some investment ideas. Take each other's goals and pray them through. Make that exchange. It helps each other to be invested in each other's dreams. It helps when we are invested in each other's dreams. That's also very important, especially for men. They love the fact that their wives believe in the dream first. Yeah. My
Don't
husband,
let an outside influence to believe more.
you just said it, Charity. Nobody's gonna be Darren Wilson's biggest fan. I am the one right here. It's me. So invest in time by giving your spouse in you undivided attention to hear their heart. I love that, Apostle Melrose. And invest in their health, she mentioned.
Yeah.
She also said that there must
Respect
also
to
be
the
respect
spouse.
for the spouse from the friend. And if you don't feel the respect from that friend, then that relationship must be evaluated by the people. Correct.
That's
Correct.
true. That's good. Yeah, my husband and I, we always have this thing because um, people are special and people will be people. They prefer one spouse over the other.
Yeah.
So
We
you
always say
have
that.
those situations where somebody's only friends with the husband or they're only friends with the wife. And for us, we have a rule in our
Mm.
household is we are two, but we come as one.
Yes. Yes.
So if you gonna accept one, you gotta take both of them.
Yeah.
We don't have to be best buddies, but you gotta
Yeah.
respect it. You
Yeah.
gotta respect the union.
Yeah.
So
Like somebody has to come by me tomorrow, and she was like, "Can my husband come?" I was like, "What kind of stupid question is that?" Like, don't mind I said stupid. That's what I thought. I was like, "Oh, question is that?" Like, bring your husband, bring your man. That's what I said. Bring your man, bring him.
mm-hmm.
No, if you are coming, then yeah, your husband is there. It's fine, unless it's a meeting just for you or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
women's meeting. But yeah, so I loved everything about this charity. For a shy person, I think you're not so shy after all. Um, I had
So thanks for having me.
fun, especially this second segment with the questions. I We didn't have so many questions last night, but I think this topic, where friendship is concerned, it's a big deal in marriage. It's a big deal for all of us. And building on what Francesca laid last night, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we could not have gotten here if she didn't lay
Mm-hmm.
that foundation. So I really want to
That's
honor
right.
her again. She's
That's
probably
right.
asleep. But if she catches this replay, I just want to say that, Francesca, thank you again for last night. And Charity Cantave, amazing, phenomenal. You are the phenomenal woman indeed. And you did an amazing job tonight. And I could see from the chat that people are responding, and people have good things to say about this, and I'm sure that they're learning as well. And I hope that they were able to share this, because we don't just want this information for us, but we want others to also be a part of it, even though they were late or have to catch the replay. No problem. I mentioned last night that for those that registered, that we have a great announcement to make tomorrow night, so you want to be here again. So registrants, yep, you're in for a treat, but I need you to be on tomorrow, and also to share this again and invite friends to come in. Don't miss it, okay? And since last night, we've gotten so many new likes on the page, on my own husband page. So this lets me know that what we hoped for to
Yep,
grow
yep,
and
yep.
expand as a community is actually happening. And I thank you all for that. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for sending the hearts. Thank you for sharing. Please share, share, share. Do not hesitate to share. And even if you feel somebody was on, share it again with them. If you feel and you know somebody's going through something where friendship is concerned, share the link with them again. And be here tomorrow night, because we have the lovely, and I say lovely because she'll be talking about better lover, how to become a better lover. We have the lovely Audra, Mistress Audra KB, the one and only, and she's gonna come with a lot of energy, a lot of fire, so y'all don't want to miss it. She's just a big bubble of love, and I love her very much as well, and I'm sure she's still on, but I can't wait. Charity, do you have any final words? Because we need to get you off so you can get back to your husband and go to bed. But y'all are not going to blame my own husband, the page. Y'all are not going to blame Better Wives Weekend and say we kept you out late. We promised before 10 o'clock everybody has to go back to their own husbands and carry on. But just close us out with your last words, and yeah.
I'm going to close off the way I started. The wise woman builds her house on a foundation of godly precepts, and her household thrives. I'm not even going to read the other part because I think we got that foolish part out the way. There's no more foolishness in our households. We are wise women, and we are
Yes.
life-giving women, and we're not going to continue building our house until we are thriving women. So I just encourage you to continue to build, to speak life, and to thrive.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Charity Cantave. And also thank your husband for allowing you to be on here as well. Yes, thank you so much. Mr. Cantave, if you can hear me, I know you're there.
He's
Um,
right there.
But thank you so much for having your wife join us tonight. It means everything to us. And for all of you that are still on, as I said before, please share this. Thank you for watching the replay. If you're coming on late, you can follow us on several platforms, Instagram, Facebook, right here on Facebook. We are also on YouTube, or you can email us on Gmail. Just check, the information is all in the it's pinned to the comments here, so you can always check it out. And yeah, if you need to reach out to us, please let us know how you feel about this conference, online conference. If you want to have me come and speak at your event, speak to wives or anything regarding marriage. I also have my husband who's very good at speaking and encouraging and motivating as well. And we would love to be a part of it and have you partner with us as well. It's not just us giving, but also we love to receive as well. We have no problem with that. I just wanted to put that out there. But we love everything that we do. And most importantly, we love the support that we get. Please don't stop with the support. If it's good, share it. If it's good, tell us what more you would like us to bring and what more you would like to see from this movement. Let us know. And if anything else, just send us a message. We are very open to your suggestions and also to your comments. Thank you, and we'll see you again tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, right here.